Welcome back to Actionable Intelligence. I'm Eric Greitens. This is the show that respects your intelligence. We honor you as a citizen, and we're proud to bring you people with strong opinions rooted in fact, in history, and in a deep respect for the Constitution. Joining us now is a friend of the program, Dr. Seb Gorka. Many of you know him, you know his resume. You may not know that he is a veteran of the British Territorial Army and is today a strong supporter of veterans around the country. So first, Seb, toughest question for you. Army-Navy game coming up. What's your pick?
You're really trying to get me in trouble, aren't you, Governor?
Yes.
All right, let me try and not insult too many services. So I love my frogs. I love my seals. I've had a long, abiding relationship with the Marine Corps. I taught at the Marine Corps University for years. Love my devil dogs. And the people I have the longest relationship with, and I think this is going to answer your question, is the guys at the Q course at the Special Warfare Center in Scully and Bragg. So I love my SF guys. So, but if you're wearing the cloth of the Republic, I'm on your side.
Awesome. I love it. Now, Seb, look, I want to get your thoughts on this. Glenn Greenwald, he's a journalist who quit his job at The Intercept, which is a publication that he co-founded. He quit it just a few days before the election after the outlet refused to publish his work unless he removed any and all criticisms of Democratic candidate Joe Biden. He wrote that his resignation from The Intercept follows the same trends of repression, censorship, and ideological homogeneity plaguing the national press generally, and that have engulfed the media outlet that he co-founded, culminating in the censorship of his own articles. Now, I just want to get your perspective on this from the standpoint of American history, and as you look at other countries around the world, how bad has censorship become in America?
You know, the sad thing is, Eric, it's first things first, let's be clear who this guy is. So Glenn Greenwald, he hates the president. This isn't some, MAGA guy.
Right.
The Intercept is hardcore left-wing. He is left-wing, but he's had enough with censorship on the left. The situation here in America is worse than in a dictatorship. Let me explain. So my parents, as children, suffered under a Nazi occupation in Budapest in Hungary. As adults, they were persecuted under the communist regime that replaced it. My father was arrested, tortured, and put in a political prison by the communists. And you had censorship behind the Iron Curtain. But those people had to write the lies, whether it was at Pravda, Izvestia, whether it was at TASS. They had to write them because otherwise they'd go to the gulag. Here in America, they're writing and publishing the propaganda voluntarily. There's no threat of the gulags for CNN or Washington Post. And look at the big thing, social media. The President of the United States has 90 million followers on Twitter.
Right.
At least 73 million Americans voted for him. And he is being censored by Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter. They're putting up these banners, this tweet is disputed. What are you talking about? Have you censored anything to do with Joe Biden? They took down the stories of Hunter Biden's laptop saying it was hacked. Jack Dorsey, it wasn't hacked. They're his laptops that he abandoned at the store with all the emails to China. That is property of the owner of the shop, and you censored it. Oh, and by the way, the president's tax returns, that was a felony. That was a hack of the IRS account. A person's tax returns in America are classified. Yes. Did Twitter, did Facebook, did CNN, did Washington Post censor any of those? It is an outrage. And whatever happens on January 20th, I saw the president last night. I was in the White House for the Christmas party. Whatever happens, we have to be grateful to this man for one amazing thing. He has ripped the mask off the fake news. He has pulled aside that curtain to see that little green man beside the curtain who's saying, oh, just believe us and don't question. So God bless Donald Trump, because the fake news is a real threat, and they are the enemy of the American people, Eric. Yeah. And look, you know it better than anybody. You've lived it just like I have.
Yes, no, we've both lived through these attacks, and speaking of Twitter, what's interesting is Greenwald. Again, you pointed out this is no supporter of the president. He also tweeted this. He said that if Biden wins, that there's going to be a power structure, a Democratic Party fully unified with Bush Cheney operatives, CIA, FBI, NSA in Silicon Valley, and that much of the left is going to continue marching behind it. Now, Dr. Gorka, traditionally people, when they thought of political conflict in America, they often thought of it as being between two competing parties, between the Republicans and the Democrats. But I think what Greenwald's pointing out, and a lot of people are saying, is that in many ways it's really just a conflict between the swamp and the DC power structure and American citizens. What's your take on that?
I don't know if he came up with it, but Steve Bannon, when I was in the White House, he used the phrase the uni party, and he's absolutely right. Whether it's the two establishment parties, the Democrats and the GOP, whether it's the deep state, whether it's the swamp, whether it's the legacy media, it's one amorphous blob. And how do we know that? Very easy. The election occurred 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago. Eric, how many people with the letter R behind their name on Capitol Hill have stood up? Not just for the president. This isn't about a man and a party. This is about, suitcases of ballots being pulled from under tables to be counted illegally once the poll watchers have been escorted out of the building. How many Republicans have stood up and said, this cannot happen? Look, you know who they are. You get a very small piece of paper and write all their names on. They're the regular guests on my show, America First. It's people like Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Brian Babin, Lee Zeldin, Louis Gohmert, Marsha Blackburn. By the time you're in double digits, Eric, that's it.
That's it.
It's an indictment. These people are all scratching each other's back. You see Lindsey Graham fist bumping with Kamala Harris, and
I think one of the things that is so infuriated our viewers, and I'm sure you're hearing it every day, you're speaking to millions of Americans across the country, is that they wanted and they expected Republicans to step forward and to make sure that they were fighting for election integrity. There's a tremendous amount of disappointment, not just with what's happened with the election irregularities, but they really feel like they don't have people who are in there, they're fighting for them. And let me get your take on that, on the current battle in the courts over the election. What's your message to our viewers about not just what they should be watching, but also what they should be doing?
Look, I told the president this 3 weeks ago. I've been saying it every single day on my radio show, America First. The legal battle is important. God bless Rudy. Godspeed. He needs to, crush COVID as soon as possible. Jenna Ellis is a rock star. Joe DeGeneva, Victoria Tunsing. They need to take this all the way to the Supreme Court so the American people can see the level of corruption in the Democrat precincts. But this will not be won in the courts. It won't even be won in the Supreme Court because we just don't have the time. This will be a political battle that must be won in the state houses. Let's be very clear here. Everyone watching your show knows there's no way on God's green earth. Forget Dominion voting systems and suitcases of ballots. There's no way that a decrepit, senile old man who's been a machine politician for 47 years, that Joe Biden got more votes than the first black president. Everybody knows they stole it. It is just absolutely clear. We have to send a very clear message. The president, every single one of your viewers, has to call up their state houses, which are run by the Republicans. This is shocking. All the battleground states have state houses that are run by the GOP, and the Constitution is clear. It is the state houses that send the electoral college elected votes to D.C. They actually verify and certify the election. And we have to send them a very simple message. If you're a Republican politician in a state house in the next day or two, and you dare to verify a clearly fraudulent election, you will never, ever be reelected. What happens then? Nobody gets the 270 threshold, and we flip into what the Constitution calls a contingent election. And it's how Thomas Jefferson was elected. At this point, the House of Representatives elects the president, not by member vote, which we would lose to the Democrats, but a one vote per state political delegation vote, which right now is in the hands of the GOP. We outnumber the Democrats in the House, and they would choose the president, and the president gets a second term. But it requires your listeners to step up to the plate, and it requires the GOP to grow a spine, Eric.
Yes, well, and let's talk about that just in the last 60 seconds that we have left, because a lot of people might not recognize we have had presidents. I mean, you pointed to our third president, Thomas Jefferson, in 1800. Voted out of the House of Representatives. Talk a little bit, just in the 20 seconds we have left, about how this contingent election process works.
So if there's no 270 mandate for either candidate, there is no electoral college mandate for the president. The House of Representatives meets by state delegation. The 50 states. They vote in a simple majority for the president. The vice president is elected by the Senate. And right now, the GOP has the majority in the House, and Donald Trump would be elected. And my message is very simple. If it was good enough for Thomas Jefferson, it's good enough for President Trump.
Good. And Seb, in 10 seconds, let everybody know where and how they can hear you and follow you on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Right. We're on the Salem Radio Network, hundreds of stations, millions of listeners across the country. We live stream on YouTube. Just look for my name, Sebastian Gorka, and America First. You can get it on podcast, and just go to our website, sebgorka.com. That's SEBGORKA.com. And thank you, Eric.
We appreciate having you on again, folks, and we'll be back in just a minute.